Flight 229, you're clear for takeoff.
Just like a flight plan, you have to know where you're going and how you will get there when you plan for retirement. Let Ryan Fleming help you chart out a course for your retirement with his intimate knowledge of financial planning and the airline industry. It's time for the Pilot's Advisor.
Hello, everybody. This is the Pilot's Advisor recording from Anchorage, Alaska. I wanted to share a little bit of experiences I've had here in Anchorage. Many airlines fly through Anchorage, and interestingly enough, during this pandemic, Anchorage has become the world's busiest airport, mainly because of the amount of cargo that is going through here. But around the corner from the Captain Cook, there is a little bike shop called Pablo's, and I had a really good interaction with Pablo yesterday. Of course, it's getting near summertime here in Anchorage, and the weather is absolutely phenomenal. So the gym here was closed, so I decided I was going to rent a bike and go ride for, a couple hours. So I rolled in there, and Pablo, who owns his business, a nice little bike store, and I was having some conversation with him, and he was talking about being a small business owner and how tough things were going to be. He said that 90% of his revenue comes from tourism, which obviously nobody is really going anywhere right now. So he's being hit very, very hard. But what I really enjoyed about Pablo was he talked about having a positive attitude because that's all he could do. He was unsure of his financial future, obviously. So Pablo forced himself to have a good attitude. And I was just really impressed with Pablo's great attitude. And I told him because of that, I wanted to support his business and that I would rent a bike from Pablo's every single time I came to Anchorage. And I think that all the pilots should support small businesses right now. If you're lucky enough to have a job, and you can go and do and support for those others, especially waitresses, bartenders. Every little bit of extra tip you can give is helping another family that's in a much worse situation than we are if you have not been furloughed from your job yet, which is another thing that we're going to discuss. I want to have a few long-term pilots from various airlines come on the show and discuss this situation and give a little perspective on what they think for their particular airline and, taking into account what they've seen over the years and what their perspective is on how the recovery will come for each individual airline. And actually with that, I want to reach out. If you're one of those pilots out there that would like to discuss this or give me your perspective on where you think things are going to go, feel free to reach out to me. You can call me at 843-475-3038 or email me at ryan@flemingfg.com. Email or text is probably best for me, and I can get back to you. I had an interesting few interactions with a couple of clients this weekend that I wanted to share. The first one is I reached out to an old buddy of mine who is still in the Air Force, and I wanted to see how his family's doing, how he's holding up. And I wanted to express to him that even though I haven't reached out in a little while, that I'm always here and he can reach out to me. And his response was great. He said, "Ryan, the only reason why I haven't reached out to you is because I did not want you to think that I was panicked in this market." He goes, "I'm doing great and, everything's good, but I didn't want to reach out because I didn't want you to think that I was panicked and I didn't want to be one of those investors or clients for you in that position." So anyway, I appreciated that, thought it was pretty funny. The other interaction that I wanted to talk to you about is I was talking to another one of my clients, and I recently got a pretty high net worth prospect to give me a call because she had talked to this individual client, and my client was so happy. She says, I don't worry about my money. That's Ryan's job, and I have total financial peace of mind, and he's handling stuff. And her interaction with her friend caused her friend to give me a call simply because she's going frantic over the current conditions and not really feeling very comfortable about things with her money. And I actually got a prospect, like I said, and probably going to be a client out of it. So I've just found that the more you educate clients on the front end, the more comfortable they're going to feel about the process. And if they understand the process, even when times are bad like they are right now, they can see and have faith in the program and have faith and have a great investment philosophy going forward, which will allow you to have investment peace of mind day to day. Pilots will never learn. Of course, I talk all the time about not stock picking and how picking an individual stock is pretty much gambling with your money, speculating and gambling to be more exact. And I can't tell you how many times I get phone calls from clients or friends talking to me about this individual stock or that individual stock. And with pilots, it's always the airline stocks or FedEx stock. And I try to explain to them that it's much more prudent to invest in a whole portfolio, a very diversified portfolio, thousands and thousands of companies to spread out their risk. And of course, they all want to make a quick buck and feel like they can predict what the airline industry is going to do. And so it's always a constant conversation. FedEx stock, American stock, did you see this, that? And Warren Buffett sold off every single piece of his portfolio that involved any of the airlines. American, United, UPS, FedEx, the whole industry. And of course, what happened with that, because there's a ton of money tied up in that, the airline stocks just took a total dump. I think they were down 12%. I think American got hit the hardest. But what it did for me is it brings up another learning lesson, if I haven't told you guys this enough, that you definitely should not stock pick. I definitely don't think that you should put a lot of money in the airlines or an industry that you have the most exposure to. And if history tends to repeat itself. And I wanted to share a story of another financial advisor who's a friend of mine. And he shared this with me, and it was heartbreaking. And, of course, I have stories very similar to this. His father happened to be a United Airlines pilot, and all he did throughout his whole career was buy United stock. He retired as a 777 United captain, and his whole portfolio was United stock. And I know what you're saying. Hey, I didn't have a whole portfolio. I just wanted to take 10% of my money or whatever and invest in one stock. But to make a long story short, that United stock took a total dump after 9/11, and he basically lost everything. So he went from having a great pension and having, a couple million in stock to almost nothing. And it had such a tragic effect on his retirement and his life that he became depressed, basically lost everything, and was never the same person. And it got so bad that this particular individual decided to take his life. And sadly, that's unrecoverable for a family. And I don't know what to say to that. That just breaks my heart. But it goes to show you, when you speculate and gamble with your money and your retirement savings, how it can affect families. So we want to follow principles that are going to make sure that you're safe and your family's safe for the foreseeable future. This actually even hits home for me because my stepfather worked for GE for 32 years, and his money was all tied up in GE stock. And before GE started taking a dump, I kept saying to him, I said, Paul, GE is a great company. I totally get it. I totally understand your loyalty towards that company. It's been very good to you. You have a great pension because of it, but it's not prudent investing to have your whole portfolio be one stock or even a couple stocks. And of course, when GE started taking a total dump, what I had told him started ringing true, and he finally reached out to me after he had lost half of all his retirement savings and said, hey, Ryan, you know that whole diversification thing you've been hounding me about? And I said, yes. He goes, will you please help me? And in this case, thankfully, we were able to get him diversified and, building a globally diversified portfolio. And going forward, things have been great. But unfortunately, after he had lost 50% of his money. So anyway, let's just not stock pick. Let's play the long-term game. Develop and understand an investment philosophy and have a portfolio that's going to be able to withstand times like these. So I was just on the treadmill trying to get some cardio because, of course, keeping the pounds off during this pandemic has been even harder than it normally is because of the gyms being closed. And I actually had to get off the treadmill and come down here and record this for you because I was having such a difficult time thinking about a situation that happened over the course of the last 2 days. As you can imagine, I have many prospects and clients that send me articles and or videos from XYZ Advisor and how they know what the market's going to do and can totally predict the future and how smart they are and all this stuff. Well, recently I had a prospect and a friend send me a video of XYZ Advisor, and he was telling me about how he knew what was going to happen next and he had pulled all his clients' money in cash. And what bugs me about this so much is that the market is so totally unpredictable, and of course this advisor was unable to predict the coronavirus, and so he decided after a pretty decent drop in the market to pull his clients out of the market and put them into cash, thus locking in those losses. And of course, the market went down probably even further, so he thinks that he's the smartest advisor out there. So even though he was unable to predict the future prior to this happening, now this advisor is all-knowing, and he predicts that there's going to be a second shoe to drop and that the market will go all the way down to 14,000. Now, he had some very valid points, but after just not being able to predict the market, it seems so idiotic to me and very imprudent to me to speculate and gamble with his client's money and think that he is smart enough to predict the future and that the market's going to drop all the way to 14,000. Sadly, many advisors out there do this with their clients' money, and many were sitting on the sidelines from 2010 to 2018 waiting on the next correction that just never happened. But what we learned from this is that you can't predict the market, that you have to follow the rules. You have to buy into a long-term investment strategy that doesn't involve stock picking, that doesn't involve market timing, that doesn't involve track record investing, because we cannot predict the future. The market is totally unpredictable, and how someone cannot see that from the simple things that have just happened with this coronavirus, if anything, it just justifies all the facts that are out there, all the academics, all the theory backed up by Nobel Prize winning research. So buy into an investment philosophy and hold strong to it, because that is the only way you're going to win. It's bad enough that I have to turn on the TV and listen to Kramer, or the name I think about over the past 20 years is Harry Dent. I can only imagine how many hundreds of thousands of dollars he's lost for every person that listened to him because he was wrong. Even though he was so smart and could predict the future, he was wrong. And this particular XYZ advisor, after locking in losses for all his clients, thinks now, even though he couldn't predict the coronavirus, that now he can predict the future. It just scares me. It breaks my heart. I hope everyone is well. Please reach out to your friends, family. This is difficult times, and they're very stressful. How things are going to be going forward are unknown and very difficult for many people, so make sure that we're taking care of each other. I want to say give each other hugs, but we can't do that. We must continue to social distance. But please be there for each other. If you need to reach out to me, I'm always here. Stay strong, focus, hold on to your investment philosophy. Don't make emotional decisions with your money, and I'm here to coach you through that and help you. God bless.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.